And thank you to everybody that's here today with us. So appreciate you taking the time out of your busy Mondays to be with us. Just starting your week off right here with us on the panel discussion. So thank you so much. But today we've got an outstanding panel. I'm so excited about this panel. I cannot tell you, this is like my dream panel right here. Well, that's for
Thanks.
oh no.
Good to be with you.
I know. What's your name again?
George.
George, yeah.
Bill Thompson.
Yeah, Bill Thompson. He's the associate director of the SBDC, and they are the ones that host this panel every month. And so we're always so pleased to have Bill here. No, yeah, I should work. Yeah, you guys know this. If you've been here before, you know that Bill and I are always teasing each other. But we have somebody new that nobody's met yet here before. We have Robin Quinnen here today. She's a partner with Robin Glenn, Life Insurance Solutions and Executive Benefits. We have the Brian Levy with us today. He is a lawyer with Treaty Oak Employment. He's the Employers Law Group and financial advisor. And Jennifer Larson will be joining us again today. In fact, she's walking in right now. Jennifer, I'm just introducing you. So perfect timing. She's a financial advisor, fee-based financial planning and investment services. So glad you made it.
Me too.
I know. Yeah, it. I don't know. That's Jane's problem.
Okay. Never mind.
So bye-bye. So today, our topic is we're talking about labor pool, attracting, retaining, and optimizing your workforce.
Have an in-person attendees today, and she would like to join us.
Yeah, please have a seat right up here in front.
Here.
No, Bill, put her up here off camera.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, off camera, please. And you just move that over.
I can sit here.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Because otherwise we'll pull her into the discussion, and that's really
Yes.
unfair.
Okay.
We don't want to do that to people. Yes, because we've had people come in here before and they're like, oh my gosh, it's pretty intimidating, I guess, room. But anyway, so welcome everybody. So we want to get started with this is such an important topic. And it's one that I see so many times that small businesses mess up on, right? If you're running your business, all of a sudden you realize you have to grow and your cousin needs a job because they just graduated from high school, they don't have a job. And so, hey, you are now accounts receivable. And you go on and you go, here, you're accounts receivable, and walk away. And that's what happens. And so what we're hoping to accomplish here today with this panel is to give you some best tools about how to do this in a better way, rather than hiring for convenience. Hire for your strategic planning so that you go for your success rather than just the convenience of getting through today's problem. So, Brian, let's start with you. From an employment law perspective, what are the most critical compliance issues small businesses face when hiring, and what legal framework should be in place before companies start scaling their workforce? We only have an hour. I know that question is so loaded that I know that you could be talking for hours on that.
Yes, that is really unfair to give me that question in this short amount of time. But I think to kind of cut to the chase on it, I see a lot of small employers that don't have a policy, procedure, or a handbook, and they don't have job descriptions. When you hire somebody without a job description, you're setting yourself up for failure. The job description lays out what's expected of somebody. And so if you have an employee with no expectations, it's really hard to discipline them. So if you fast forward 2 years when your company's successful, you have someone that has never been disciplined and they've never had a job description, they've never had any sort of feedback, and all of a sudden you're wanting to get rid of them and there's just no documentation or reason why. So I think that would be like one of the most common major things that I see.
That is so true. All right. So I got it. I don't know if I've told this story here before, but I was working with a client once, and the client was trying to hire somebody. Let's just make up so that in case they're listening, they don't know I'm talking about them, although they probably do know I'm talking about them. So let's say we're trying to hire for a position, office manager. So he goes into ChatGPT, he puts in, what are some of the questions that I should ask me for an office manager position? prints those out, sends them out to the candidates. The candidates probably went into ChatGPT, answered the question, sent them back. He got it back and he read them. He goes, they're really similar. And then he said, I just hired one. And then when they came in, he goes, you're office manager, and walked away. And for some reason, they're not working out. Huh. So I think it's because of what you were just talking about, Brian.
Yeah, that is very common. In that scenario, they didn't have a job description, but also a couple of the choices they made in the hiring process could have probably been done with a little bit more thought. When you delegate your interviewing to ChatGPT, that can cause problems. And specifically the example you mentioned, you got ChatGPT answers back. Take it one step further and maybe ask ChatGPT to help you write prompts for your job interview questions, or just put a little bit more thought. You'll get a lot better result.
Definitely. Elizabeth, how do workforce decisions impact business risk? And what insurance strategies should owners consider when building their teams?
Easily one of the strategies we employ is key person life insurance. A lot of time a business is dependent on, maybe it's the owner, maybe it's a C-suite employee, somebody in that business that really makes the business go. And if that person were to no longer be there, what happens? Key person life insurance can look various ways depending on the type of policy you use for that coverage. But essentially, if you were to lose a key piece of your business, you have now the funds to find that replacement, whether that person has left because they got a better deal, whether that person, something horrible has happened and they're no longer with us. There's at least to cover that. So that's a big piece that we say, if this person helps, the lights can't run, if the lights can't stay off, this person is gone, how are you going to make sure you maintain that? Second piece I'd say is also, we like to have buy-sell agreements in place. If a partner, if somebody walks away, somebody can no longer work, we want to have ways to ensure that everybody feels good about the end of the relationship. And usually we'll use life insurance to fund that piece as well.
All right, this is not on here, but the first thing that people are going to be probably thinking about out here, is that expensive?
It can be. It depends, right? So I know that we were going to talk about sort of kind of like cost saving ways as we go through this panel today, but certainly let's pretend somebody's in startup mode and cash flow may be tighter than it might be in 2 years. There are things that we can do. We have convertible term, which for the non-life insurance nerds in the room, term covers a certain amount of time. Whole life is your whole life, not to be too obvious. So a way that we can do that is we can make convertible terms. Terms are obviously way significantly less expensive than a whole life policy. So we can, right now, I've got a client that's probably in year 4 of a couple of his businesses now, that we put a convertible term on that he is now ready to convert. And those premiums are much lower. Obviously, he has a cash flow now that he won't clutch his pearls about what a whole life policy will cost to fund and kind of grow the way that he wants to. And there's also sometimes you can have graded premiums versus level premiums. So even still in the first 2 years, they'll be extra low. Understanding in a couple of years, they have to even out. So, but there's ways to work around when cash flow is a little bit limited initially.
That is awesome. Okay, Jennifer.
Yeah.
From a financial planning perspective, how should small business owners budget for workforce growth while maintaining healthy cash flow?
Yeah, so the number one thing is make sure you know your cash flow, what your cash flow is in the first place. A lot of times when we're brand new in the business, we're just, kind of spending money and dumping money and we're not exactly sure what we're doing with it. So we want to make sure that we're tracking that and that we do have at least a 6-month cash reserves in place. So when we do hire that extra person, we are able to pay in case there are times that are slow. So that's one. Number 2 is really understand like what your cost to hire is going to fee. Because a lot of times employees don't take into, or employers don't take into consideration that not only do we have the salary that we're offering, but we also are going to be responsible for self-employment tax or employment tax on that person, potentially some benefits, things like that. So I may be thinking in my mind that I'm, paying somebody $50,000, but in reality, it's really anywhere from 62,000 to 70,000 because of all those ancillary things that we're responsible for. So just calculating that into our budgeting, and then making sure that on the follow-up, once we do hire that person, that we are measuring the value that they're bringing into the business and that it is an accurate value for what we're paying. So if I'm paying somebody for my social media, what am I doing with the results that I'm getting from the work that they're doing? Am I just putting them out there and then no one's touching it? And yes, I have this great branding, but we're not following up on the branding. We're not tackling anything on the other side of it. If I'm not doing that, then it really is a waste of my money. So making sure that we're utilizing that person and that hire in the most effective way and measuring it.
Still, what are the problems that SBDC sees from your small business clients?
Well,
in
kind
it?
of case in point, what you guys were talking about, when a business owner starts, it's usually just one person, maybe two, but usually just one person. And so as they start growing and expanding, when they still need to bring people on, before that happens, go ahead and create your systems that you're going to need within the business of your accounting, your human resources, your operations, your sales. Have all those set up and then start writing the task and how the job each one needs to be executed, so that when they start hiring, they have their SOP already written, so they can hire off that SOP when they're looking for employees.
SOP, standard operating procedure.
Yeah, standard operating.
Just in case someone doesn't know.
Gotcha.
And I also wanted to make sure you do.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I have so many questions in my head that I'm not sure I have on the paper that I really want to talk about too, but at the same time, I want to kind of like stay organized, which everybody knows I'm not organized. But we're coming to the things about compensation and benefit strategies. But I want to bring up fractional services. And I think that's something we've talked about on some of our other panels. We've talked about fractional services. But I think that's something that we really need to discuss is when you want to first hire somebody, hiring someone fractional, and how do you know when to switch them over? And also another question I have that I want to bring up today, and if I don't get it out of my head, it's going to be in there rattling around the whole time, is 1099 versus W-2.
Great.
So go for it, whoever.
I actually had that on my list of things to talk about for
Great,
this
please.
topic. So first of all, I see a lot of small business owners waiting too late to budget for legal spend. Even if you don't have a legal issue, sitting down and talking about some of this stuff with an attorney for an hour or two is well worth it in advance. Specifically, and I think Elizabeth kind of referenced this, an operating agreement. I see many entrepreneurs not working on operating agreements until they're already in a dispute with somebody who thinks they're a partner in this business. And it's like, well, we didn't, I would think of an operating agreement as like a business prenup. It helps you decide how you're going to break up before you get married. And I guess that would translate to it provides rules for entry and exit into the business. And it's better to have those things worked out on the front side. And so you need to make sure that you're paying your employees properly. And sometimes entrepreneurs will say things like, oh, well, we're just going to give you shares later. But there is what's called the Fair Labor Standards Act, and that regulates minimum wage and overtime payments that are required. And so if you end up getting in a dispute with an employee who hasn't been paid, one of the first ways that they can come after you is by claiming that they weren't paid minimum wage. And to get it right back to the independent contractor issue. So you don't get to decide whether someone is an independent contractor or not. The IRS can make that decision, a court can make that decision. But while it may appear that it's up to the business owner very early on, and that you can just call somebody an independent contractor and not deduct withholdings and the federal employment taxes, that is a mistake. You can go to the IRS's website. They have a test for independent contractor determinations, but the easiest way to understand it is the default is an employee. If someone is an independent contractor, you need to ensure that they meet those tests. Otherwise, they're an employee because that's the default. So I'm happy.
Give me an example.
Okay, an example is I have I don't know, some sort of a sales business, and I call my salesperson an independent contractor, and therefore I'm not taking out, we're paying them $15 an hour, and I just pay them $15 for every hour they worked. Because I call them an independent contractor, I let them be responsible for all of the tax issues. They only sign a 1099 or W-9 in employment, and they don't sign a W-2. And so I'm not taking out, and I'm not budgeting for their Social Security and their Medicaid and Medicare taxes. And so if in the future that employee gets upset with you, they can go to one of these government administrative agencies and say, I wasn't properly classified. And that is a huge problem for your business. And it all started because you wanted to not pay the full amount of taxes. And generally because you didn't learn enough about the decision you're making ahead of time.
So
That's a critical issue. When we were doing business plans on startups or feasibility studies, we always look for a line item for an attorney. Everything from the LLC, which is not what we're talking about here, 1099 W-2s. Are you going to go into contract with people? You better have an attorney lined out to help you those contracts, because the other side does.
that's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. But for me, whenever I'm not a lawyer, so what I always tell people, they ask me, if you tell someone what time they have to be at work and you have other requirements for them, that you're not just giving them a task and they get to decide when and where to do it, then they're a W-2. So if I'm telling you, you have to be here every day at 9 a.m. for a team meeting, all of a sudden now they become a W-2. Is that, am I close?
Well, there's several different tests, and that is a factor in almost every test. But I think the easier way to think about it is everybody's an employee unless you can prove that they're not. And I think that will keep you out of trouble more than relying on any one of these multiple factor tests. Ask somebody or just assume that you have employees.
Doesn't it vary by state as well? So pretend like we went through this time where it's really easy for us to have so many remote workers. And I always thought that it's just an issue of I'd rather pay hourly and not worry about the benefits, because then that's an additional cost to me as a business owner. So let's call everybody remote 99 workers, but it varies by state by the definition. Am I making that up?
Well,
I could be.
certainly state specific determinations would matter by state, but when you're talking about classification for federal employment taxes, that would be a federal issue. But certainly if in more like unemployment context, you're looking at the state law for that. So I think the takeaway here is it's super complicated. And if you don't know what you're doing, it's best to seek guidance or to just default to the employee.
Elizabeth, thank you for bringing up remote workers, because now there's a lot more discussion about remote workers, since, the pandemic where everybody went remote, right? But it depends on where you're working remotely, because then those state laws are in effect for where you're working remotely, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, remote workers pose a significant problem for businesses that aren't staying on top of their employees' locations. if you have an employee that works remotely from a state all the time, you probably need to register as an employer in that state. Because that person's performing work in that state and not in your state. So that's a significant issue that comes up there. And I'm kind of losing the track of the deeper question because that was the first issue that popped in my mind. What would you?
It was about the remote working.
Okay, yeah. So in remote working and independent contractors, you're opening up yourself to multiple ways to get in trouble if you're have a worker from a different state that you're calling an independent contractor.
Because then those state laws are gonna be applied to that worker, right?
Most likely, but depending on the specific issue, you need to take a look at whether it's a federal law issue or state law issue. So
Such a
there's
great lawyer.
there's
And lawyer E.
no easy answers on these questions.
Yeah.
What? No, there should be one answer, Brian. Answer. Everybody here wants that one answer. Just tell me what the answer is.
Ask ChatGPT.
And take it to court.
So Jennifer,
Yeah.
not to leave you out of this conversation,
okay,
gotta bring you
okay.
back into this right now.
Yeah.
So how do you help business owners balance investing in workforce benefits with other business financial priorities?
So, talking about like structuring their compensation practice.
And benefits? Cause
Yeah.
you, obviously you do work with them on that,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, so some of the big question is like, how do we structure compensation on like a lower budget than what we would normally, like what we'd want to see if we were looking for a large corporation? So, the best advice I can give is to be creative, right? And the more creative we can be, the better the happier and more content our employees are going to be. So compensation doesn't necessarily have to be about the dollar. It can also be about ancillary things that are being offered through the compensation package. So obviously you want to make sure that your wages is competitive, that you're offering, but you also could have the opportunity to offer flexible work hours. So going back to they call it like having 4 hours for summer, right? So if it's in the summer, then on Fridays, then we are going to be leaving, early, every Friday, and you get to kind of buy that time back. Offering some low cost benefits that could be potentially deductible for you on the tax side, but then also offer that benefit to the client or to the employee as well. So signing up for things like health savings plans where the employee can get a deduction on that side. Offering and negotiating contracts between with wellness perks. So things like gym memberships and we have a situation where we do financial wellness for certain businesses and we go in and we offer that wellness service for free. It's financial wellness. So going and putting boots on the ground and finding these creative things that can be part of the benefits package, but not cost a lot of money out of pocket for them, our employer.
I want to jump back for a second about standard operating procedures or SOPs. See, I knew it too. How do we go? I mean, and I'm listening to all this and I'm thinking, if you don't have that core SOP, none of the rest of the stuff we're talking about matters, right? What is the best practices for somebody that's watching here today, or when they watch it in the future online? What are resources that we can suggest to them about how to help them write an SOP?
You're looking at me.
Yes.
So, I think it was Andy last time was talking about when you start your business, you may not really be thinking what your SOPs are, but as you're going through your tasks to start writing things down in each individual area that's each individual system. The other thing, you can always go to the SBDC, SCORE, EGBI, which is a growth incubator, and Blue Sky can also have low cost help to help you write those SOPs. Standard operating procedures.
Back at me. Stop me. Elizabeth, you were talking about having contracts, operating agreements, and where do you suggest with your clients that they do that? How do you help them?
I mean, they have to have an attorney. It all starts with.
It all comes back to Brian.
Yeah, any kind of, we made an agreement on the back of the napkin at 4 a.m. at the bar. I don't know if it holds up in court, but so obviously, especially as things grow, right, having an understanding of if this partnership were to split for various reasons, how does that separation look? So even for estate planning, succession planning, whatever it might be, having that operating agreement then gives us the ability, if we're going to put it in a trust, what do these assets look like? What can we do moving forward? But without that sort of, it's it doesn't count. If it's not written down and notarized in a real way, then it's sort of like, you guys think you're 50-50, but in reality, I think I'm 60 and you're 40. If there's no operating agreement, we really can't help with any of the planning aspects until that is a legal contract.
And I see that so many times in doing business valuations, because they come to me when it's time for them to split up, right? And then I'm looking at their operating agreement and they went to, I don't want to badmouth.
Zoom?
Yeah, I was
I'll
gonna
tell
say,
people not to do that.
yeah, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't do that, because then it comes down to it and they're looking at it and they're going, this doesn't even make sense. Now that we're breaking up, and it's just like, oh, we're basing the value of the business on our top line, not the bottom line. And all of a sudden the business now has a based on revenues, not based on net income, right? And so they don't have that money, right? The bottom line is what we're really working off of it, and how much money is actually going to equity. Looking at that, net cash flow to equity, it's got a B over there. There's like bee state going on. Anyways, but yeah, and I see that, and it's very disturbing. And then also I see it when it comes in with partnerships where you're talking about 60-40. I see that as well, because you see that one partner is doing all the work and the other one is just taking the money, but it says on the books we're 50-50. It's like, but you've never stepped into the store. In fact, I was working on a divorce valuation not too long ago. That was exactly the case. The wife was doing all the work, but yet the husband had, 50% ownership of the business, but he had never even walked into the store. He never knew what was going on with it, and so having those operating agreements and going to finding a good lawyer
Yeah.
like Brian, that they can really walk people through that prenup of your
Up
business.
front
Yes.
before you get.
Yeah, I mean, it is so important. All this stuff, and next month we're going to be talking about, doing goal setting, but really setting things out front, really start planning out what happens about everything. I can't emphasize that enough. Okay, so now let's jump forward to retention and employee development. We've talked a little bit about that. So let's go back to you and Jennifer. So how should business owners think about professional development and career pathing as retention tools, especially when resources are limited?
Yeah, and I want to start out with just talking about like the key reason, like you do research, key reasons for people to leave the companies they're with is because there's a lack of opportunity for growth. So making sure that your employees feel like they are being invested into and into their growth is important. And I don't want to say cost shouldn't be a factor, because that's the case. It is a factor when we're a small business. With that being said, creativity can go a long way. So there's a couple of keys that could help. So accessing some of the free evaluation systems that are on LinkedIn and on the internet, so that your employees can research themselves and kind of see what tools they have, what strengths they may have, to where they can apply that. That's one way that you can also then buy into what your employees doing, and that you can put them in a better position to be successful. And then also something that I think is very fun and very easy to do is having employee lunch and learns. So employee-led lunch and learns, where employees are the ones who are coming to the table and they're the ones who are teaching their peers about something that they feel like is important for them to learn. And then also potentially giving them an opportunity for a learning hour. So every week they get to spend an hour learning about whatever it is that either they want to learn about, or something that would be applicable to your business.
Oh, those are great ideas. I really like that.
Just made them up.
It was like right here. Yeah, there's that one. Okay, good. Yeah, and I was thinking while you were talking, I was thinking about how important it is for as employers just talk to your employees. You know, ask them what's important to them to have that relationship. Don't just hire them and say, hey, you're the new office manager or whatever, but talk with them about what are their goals. Maybe their goals, you know, they just want to make some money because they have to take care of their kids and they really just want the routine, you know, they don't want to go on. So I think that's so important, just talking to people. And then when you're talking about, you know, it doesn't have to cost money, but it costs your time.
Sure.
Take your time to really spend that to get to know your employees. Okay, Brian, are you going to answer it or not?
What's,
I just,
Okay, so what are the legal best practices around performance management agreements
yeah,
and creating the clear expectations about what we want you to do and all that kind of stuff?
yeah, and I think just having expectations is the first step. And I don't know what you see, but I see a lot of entrepreneurs that never even put down what the minimum expectations were in writing. So I think that would be a good first step. Additionally, be consistent with the way you're documenting any sort of performance issues and document performance issues and make sure you're doing it in a consistent way. Because if you're not being consistent, then the value of doing that goes way down. And let's see. Oh, and also the same thing goes to enforcement. Like you don't have to be a really strict employer, but what you do need to do is consistently enforce those rules that you do set up. So, I mean, it can be as simple as, you know, we didn't necessarily put it in your file, but we did keep a little A for absent somewhere written down. So that way, when you have like 4 absences, we do have a written policy that you get right up there.
So in terms of turnover and everything like that, Elizabeth, how does that affect their insurance when you're working with somebody and their insurance needs and they have a lot of employee turnover or retention issues or whatever? How does that affect what you're doing?
It almost sounds like two different questions. So
Okay.
if I had a key person employee, it's been made popular now, split dollar plans. Sometimes you see them from Jim Harbaugh was an easy example at the University of Michigan as a football coach. He had something like Michigan was going to also offer him, in addition to whatever his state employee salary was, a $14 million premium life insurance policy. And so basically every year for 7 years, he was going to get bonused $2 million to pay the premiums on this policy, with the idea that he stays X amount of time. The policy is then his afterwards, right? So he has this influx of cash value. So the real reason behind it is the cash value is valuable to the employee, not the death benefit, obviously. However, if he does pass away, when he will pass away, all of us will at some point, unfortunately, the school will then be given back the loan from the death benefit, and then his family receives the rest of it. So they're designed in those sort of ways. If you mean from a benefit,
Really cool thing. Wow, I hadn't heard about it. Yeah, wow.
it's a way to also, yeah, there's some tax deductions too for the school that bonus out those premiums, and then it's taxable to the employee, but there's ways to work around it. So yes,
Do you have one of those?
No, I don't.
Okay, yeah, me neither. How about you, Brian?
I do not.
I think we all need to start talking to our bosses. Wait, I'm the boss. I'm gonna talk about when I get home. I'm going to look in the mirror and say, "You're going to do that. Make sure I stay." That is so cool. That is,
we use it in succession planning as well. But if you're talking about for employees, if I'm losing employees, if I'm offering life insurance as a benefit, usually with the group insurance, it's very cheap. It's very easy to get coverage. And so it feels like a positive benefit to give your employees. But as the business owner, it's not that big of a deal, right? It's a much bigger deal if I've invested in this employee. Jim Harbaugh says he wants to go coach in the NFL. All of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh. And I don't think Michigan put too much into this contract. And yeah, if you leave, that's yours, right? There's ways to sort of set up the contract that this is a tool that you don't get it if you leave versus, after 5 years.
Well, the handcuff type situation. So you can get it as long as you're here, but if you're not here, then the money reverts back to the university.
So when you're working with a client, with a company, you can do all these different types of insurance needs. Can you do the group life insurance and all that kind of stuff? I mean, when you're working with a client, with a business and talking with them about all their insurance needs, then you help them with all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
That is so cool.
Disability, I'll toss in disability as well, because it's more likely somebody's going to get disabled rather than die. So for some of these buy-sell agreements, it's a disability contract. So the buyout is you can get a disability policy so that if at some point somebody's not able to work anymore, that policy kicks in versus life or death, right?
And as a business owner, you can get a deduction on the premiums that you're paying for the disability policy.
Good to know.
I know this is like, this has been so informative just for me. I'm really enjoying this. I hope everybody else is out there too. Oh, one thing I forgot at the very beginning. I forgot to give everybody my website. Yes, November did not have a newsletter. I apologize to everybody up front. But I will get my newsletter going again. I just hired somebody. I'm not going to discuss. Yeah. We discussed that part, but I just hired an assistant that's going to be helping me because my business is growing so fast. That's going to be working with me and helping with my social media, working with my newsletter, with my CRM and stuff like that. And so, yes, so the newsletter will be much more consistent going forward. But onboarding takes a lot of time. I gotta tell you, I mean, just making sure that we have, just setting all the expectations, what we need to have done, what she can do, what I can do, how we need to communicate with each other and things of that sort. So the newsletter, so if anybody would like to get on the newsletter that will start coming out on a regular basis next month, please go to my website and sign up there. So Bill, where was I? Oh, there. So what I was going to talk with you about, and it's just, I can't ask that question now. It's not appropriate. So never mind. Okay. Oh, here's one for you. Are you ready for this one? I know I'm on Jeopardy with you. It's like, what can I try to do to stump Bill? Bill and I are really good friends. I mean, Bill and I have been friends for
Long time.
since I was 15, because I'm 28 right now.
Wow.
Just teasing.
We worked together across different venues.
Yeah, we have been. And the bad part is that Bill and I think so much alike that we can almost fit. We know what the other person is going to be saying or whatever.
Except for, yes, we
Yeah,
quit.
I know it.
I'm
Yeah,
not nervous.
I know it. Yeah, I know. Because if not, well, if you don't know the answer, that would be great. So what's the biggest workforce mistake you see small businesses make that could be prevented with better planning?
I think the first thing is they tend to hire on task alone. They don't necessarily look at work ethic. They don't look at adaptability. Yeah, I'm looking at my paper. Adaptability. They don't look at integrity or honesty. Okay, this person can do the task and it'll be fine, but it may not be a good fit for your company. And so I think the biggest thing is to other than hiring your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your cousin, is to hire on just task alone.
Jana, can I interject on this?
Of course.
Well, and there's not a recruiter in the room, but the amount of AI influence in the hiring process, I feel like the opportunity is lost that people ever probably get to really interview. And I know on some levels, depending on what the job is, obviously you have an AI interview agent initially. So you may never even get to talk to a decision maker. So you could be missing out on employees, right? The job market right now is, I would say, a challenge based on if you look at Reddit.
Yes.
There's plenty of people out there that are qualified that don't have a job.
And I think it's both ways. I'm hearing that there's a lot of people that are qualified that don't have a job, and there's a lot of people that are seeking to fill a position. There's nobody qualified to fill that position.
Can't find it.
So it's like, yeah.
So everybody's chat bots they haven't connected yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that really, because we're going to be talking about that next month. Already saw the slides that Dylan is going to be bringing in about the number of job openings and the number of people looking for jobs and what that looks like going forward. So Dylan, sorry, I'm stealing some of your thunder from next month. But yeah, I mean, that really is an issue that's going on. But then, okay, I'm sorry, went to the wrong direction. We might have to pull out the disclaimer again. My brain just keeps going. Everybody knows. So,
No comment.
thank you, thank you, thank you. So, let's talk about scaling. So Jennifer, talking about trying to help businesses scale, and, and we're trying to scale it by adding new employees. And how do you plan that out financially with a company?
Yeah, so you want to look at your projections like 1 to 5 years out, like know exactly what your number is. It kind of goes back to that first question we were talking about, like knowing how much it costs to have these employees and knowing what the benefit is going to have to having them, but then going back and looking at the projection of your numbers from 1 to 5 years out. I can't reinforce this enough, and perhaps it's because I have been there. I've been the one that hired, I needed to hire somebody and I didn't even know what I need. So I just hired somebody and then found out I didn't need that, and then I couldn't figure out how to fire them because they were an acquaintance. And it's like, okay, well, this is definitely a lesson learned. So what I will say is that as a small business owner, you need to know your numbers, right? You need to know like what is my, like what revenue am I creating from what parts of my business? What revenue am I creating from my marketing? What am I getting from my referrals? What am I getting from my walk-ins? Like what am I getting? And what is my percentage of even closes, right? So if I've got a retail store, if I have people coming into my foot traffic, what is the amount of foot traffic that I am going to have that I need in order to purchase items? And of those items that are purchased, what is the average cost or average revenue that those are producing? You need to know those types of numbers, and you need to track them, because if you're not tracking them, then how are you going to know if you can actually pay an employee, or how are you going to know where the gap is that you need to fill? So in my opinion, the scaling is all about what your numbers currently are and knowing where each of those aspects of your business are adding to that before you can actually start moving up.
I want to thank you, Jennifer. You just gave the perfect plug for our Women's Entrepreneurship Week presentation that Bill and I are doing tomorrow at 10 a.m. on CRMs, customer relationship management, that we're doing. We're doing a presentation here tomorrow at 10 o'clock. So, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about is CRMs, how to keep track of what's going on with your relationship with your clients and seeing, keeping track of all of those metrics and things of that sort. So it's going to be fun.
It will be fun.
It'll be fun because Bill and I haven't practiced yet.
That almost sounds like, though, understanding when fractional versus full-time makes sense as well.
That really falls into that. Thank you for saying that. And I sit in front of a lot of business owners when we're doing their planning, and that they ask me that same question, like, how do I know when it is that I am supposed to grow? And it's like, you need to hire a fractional CFO if you're at that point. And every single person I've said that to says to me, what is that? Like business owners don't even really know that is available and an option for them. Like, you don't have to hire a full-time CFO. You can hire it as a consultant on a fractional basis to come in, help you make those decisions.
But even like HR, there's so many things where I feel like business owners are outside of their depth, where it's like just hire in, bring in somebody.
Consultant.
Yes.
Yes. Consultant, fractional, the terms are interchangeable, right? But get somebody good. And anybody at this table, and again, at the end of this, we'll be sending out contact information for everybody that's on this panel. If you need advice about trying to find a good quality fractional consultant or whatever, anybody at this table can give you names, can recommend 2 or 3 names. And even if you're not in Texas, we have contacts across the United States that any one of us, we can help you find somebody that's quality to work with and that has been vetted. So don't just Google it.
And one other thing I'll say on that note is your fractional person that you settle on probably has other fractional people that they work with often and well. And so it kind of will plug you into that whole universe. Sorry to interrupt.
No.
That's great.
It's a panel. So yes. No, this is not a lecture. Please. Don't put me back in the classroom. Yeah, no, it's like, was it death by PowerPoint?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I could ever sit in a classroom again. That would be so boring. So how are we doing on time? Okay, so we got about 10 more minutes. Um, so let's go, since we got about 10 minutes left, let's talk about the future of employment, future of employees. I know this wasn't a topic, sorry, but no, my brain just went there. So what does it look like? I mean, we've been hearing this discussion, AI is taking over, so we're going to have no workers. Thoughts, discussion, what from your individual perspectives, what do you see?
I mean, I think that you have to meet it where it is. You know, like what is it that is happening in AI that I, as a financial advisor, can utilize, and how do I get ahead of it so that I'm not replaceable, right? But that it can help me do things that make my time well spent. So meaning if I can buy back some time with AI, then that means that's time that I can actually spend with my clients who I do believe feel like the need to have a personal relationship with a financial advisor. And that's something that they won't get from a chat GPT. They may get investment advice, but they're not going to get like planning, and they won't get the reinforcement and the changes that need to be made unless they have that relationship with a human. What I find is that a lot of times, even my own clients, they'll come in and they'll be like, well, I read this on ChatGPT, but they'll end up getting paralysis by analysis. They have so much information that even when it comes to doing things like opening the Roth IRA, that the internet told them, they didn't even need ChatGPT for that. The internet's been telling them that for years. They still won't do it because they just don't know that it's the right thing to do, and that they have to have that human reinforcement. So they use it when you can and where it's applicable, but don't let it replace that human connection.
I think for now, there has to be some human oversight for it because it's still so new, but you name the industry segment,
Yeah.
and there's LLMs out there that are trying to at least be
Mhm.
that human contact that says, hey, great job. You opened your Roth IRA and fill in the blank that's sponsoring me. Great. Next steps. Let's set aside an amount that you can put towards. So I don't know. You and I both sat in that same scary meeting where the guy said, I don't know, in 25 years, we're all going to have RoboCop looking things like cleaning our houses for us. And none of us will be working, right? There's entire factories that they'll have one human, everything else is automated. So all that to be said, I don't know.
I don't know if I'll live that long.
I will say, and just to reinforce, I have to be like, you have to keep up with it. Like if you're in a situation now where you think that AI is a flip or AI is going away, it is not going away, right? It is like, this is the equivalent of the internet in 1990, whatever year it was introduced. I mean, it is not going away, and it is moving very, very fast. I mean, we went from however many years ago to just having chat GPT to now there's a chat GPT specifically for creating those boring PowerPoints and making them more interesting. Like, you dump the information in, and within 10 seconds, you've got a new presentation. I did one the other day where I gave it my website link and said, make a PowerPoint, make a value proposition based on the information that's in this website. Done. And it was 10 seconds. And so, I mean, if you're not keeping up, then you will be left behind, and it's going to be that much harder to keep up.
People need to remember AI is a tool. It is not an end. It's a tool. And just like any other tool, you need to check its work. Do not just take it. I mean, I use it all the time in my valuations. I write the valuation, but I'll use AI to help me clarify things. And I still have to check it because it'll give me something wrong. And I'll go, that is a mistake there. And I'm like, oh, you're right. Thank you for catching that mistake. It's like, you should have got it, not me, but yeah, but you still have to check it. It's just like any other tool. You've got to keep up with it. You've got to understand what it's doing and things of that sort. From a legal standpoint, how does all this AI play out in the workforce?
I mean, back to the policies, you need to have an AI usage policy. You need to be cognizant of what's happening to your data. And I'll say, if you don't protect your data, it's going to be hard to go to a court later and tell them, this was a trade secret, this was confidential information, and they're going to eventually find out in your lawsuit that you put it on Chat GPT and it's not. So I would be aware of it from that perspective. And just on the other side of what you were saying, Jennifer, is you have in law, we have like an obligation of minimum like technical competency. And so that kind of governs our usage of technology and ChatGPT. But as a business owner, you should have a minimum level of competency to understand what AI can and cannot do, and know if your employee is using AI and telling you that the employee is doing work. You should be able to figure that out relatively quickly. And if you can't, you maybe should take an AI class.
There are lots of AI classes out there for free. I would consider them hobbyists, right? Who have just become experts in the way that it's operating, and they are very happy to share information, the general public.
Well, you probably have them here at the SBDC as well, right?
Have what, AI?
AI classes?
No, we don't. Actually, we don't have AI classes here.
Really?
Yeah,
To score?
no, that I know of, but I haven't checked. We don't have AI classes, yeah, but AI is here to stay. You know, I can do a market value, I can do a market research in about 20 minutes, but to do a market valuation, I mean, to validate the market and to get a part of market fit, AI can't do that. That's face to face. And so what can AI do and what can AI not do? And don't try to do evaluation off AI,
Oh my gosh, please don't.
you know.
Because then they call me in and I get to go against you and make you look silly. No, but whoever did it, right? You know, that's my job, right? Yeah, and that's so easy. I mean, it's so easy. I think it's really easy to see when you can see when AI has written something. Okay, so we got 5 more minutes. So 5 more minutes left. What is the one takeaway that each of you would like to give the people that are here with us today? What is the one takeaway you'd like for them to take away from all of this?
Know your data. Know your numbers. I think that speaks for itself.
Right,
Know
yeah.
your numbers.
I agree.
Know your numbers. Whether it doesn't matter if they're low or you're disappointed in them, you need to know what they are.
So,
And what is the best way of learning which numbers to be looking at?
I mean, obviously you need to know your revenue, right? You need to know what your spend is, like what is your marketing spend, what's your budget, what's your cash flow report. A lot of those reports you can get inside your technology, like your QuickBooks. You also, it can be helpful to join industry specific organizations so that you can, see what other people are doing. So something that may be important to me as a financial advisor may not be important to a physical therapist, right? So knowing, who, like what numbers are important to your specific industry, I think you've got to go into those different categories of businesses. But your basic ones are going to be your operating expenses, your revenue, your marketing budgets, things like that.
Elizabeth.
I would say protect your assets, right? What exposure can you minimize? Whether that looks like predators, whether that looks like disability, whatever that looks like, making sure you're as covered as possible, right? Risk management.
So what, all right, risk management in terms of like AI, getting the data out there, are there insurance policies that people can get for something like that, for being stupid? For getting to going to ChatGPT and saying, should be secure.
So I can tell you there are some policies that pretend you have your idiot cousin or your idiot child. If they were to put something on social media, it could be problematic. There are policies that will cover that. As far as, I mean, if you're negligent with your protected data, I don't think that insurance can help you.
There are the insurance policies. They're like more specialized, I would say. So like if we're focusing on life insurance or property and casualty, they're not in either one of those scopes. They're usually sold by an outside person. But I think it was
I think PNC usually
maybe sells those. I mean, you can buy an insurance policy for almost anything. I mean, there's kidnapping insurance, for goodness sakes.
Well, that would make sense. So, but for this, like, so pretend you put some client sensitive data into ChatGPT. I don't like that's negligence, right? If I do something, I guess you could kill somebody accidentally, and there's ways around it. But
there's security insurance that you can buy. So like if you have a data breach,
yeah, that's different.
Like that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Data breach insurance that would cover that.
Mine goes back to Brian's thing with I know some businesses are no AI is allowed at all. Even if you're working with crazy giant spreadsheets where it would be remarkably helpful to have something go in. It's just because of the sensitivity of data. So I guess if we all cross streams here, it'd be like, you're not allowed to do it. So if it does happen, then you,
Yeah.
then you have this in place.
So Brian, what are your last thing that you want to leave for everybody here besides they need to come and see you?
Yes,
And they do need to come and see you.
yes, please come talk to me. I'm lovely. I would say get what you think in your head onto a piece of paper, because if you don't write down your policies, they don't exist. If you don't write down your employment agreements, they don't exist. So because you believe it so does not make it real. You really would be well suited to take some time and put this stuff down on paper.
Bill, I'm gonna give you the last word.
Well, on two phases, on startups, it's important to have a lawyer, an insurance agent, and somebody who's a CPA and bookkeeper. And then as you grow your business, that is going to change. And so have a relationship with those people as you change as you grow and you expand. What insurance do you need to keep? What different procedures you need for your books? What do you need on a lawyer when you get more complex contracts? Those to me, those are critical.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody here today for your time. I really, really appreciate you guys being here because you could have been anywhere else. Traffic. Yeah, we could all be stuck in traffic somewhere, but you could have been doing something else. You could be with your clients. You could have done anything else, but you were here with me today. And I am so grateful to all of you for being here because you're all the best in your field. And to have you here is such an honor to me. I really appreciate it. And for all of you out there, thank you so much for being with us today. You would too could have been someplace else today, but now you're here today, and I so appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming. And lastly, next month is goal setting. It's December. Every December, it's goal setting. So be with us the third Monday, 9:30. We're going to be here and we're going to have an outstanding panel again. And so we're really excited for it. So thank you everyone for being here. Coach Sam is here again today. Thank you, Coach Sam. We see you here all the time. Thank you. And thank you to everyone for being here today.
Jana, you saw Tabitha asked about your webinar tomorrow.
Oh,
How do you sign up for it?
go to the SBDC. Jane, are you still on? Can you jump on, Jane?
Go to the
Yes, I'm here.
SBDC website, Texas State University, and it will be on that website, our website.
Texas State SBDC.
Yeah, Texas State University. COI is the
Type in that into Google. It'll take you to the Texas State SBDC, and then you can go to their event page.
right.
Oh, there, Jane just put it into the chat.
Oh, cool.
Jane,
Thanks,
you're
Jane.
Jane's awesome. We're so lucky to have
We
Jane.
are. She's excellent.
Yes, she keeps everything going. So thank you, everybody.